Welcome to the Fighter Index. In this video, we're breaking down and scoring every current UFC champion from least well-rounded to most well-rounded based on their skill sets in all phases of a fight. UFC champions emerge either as dominant specialists or as fighters who are strong everywhere with no clear weakness. In this video, we evaluate each current champion across every phase of a fight to uncover what makes their championship game unique. To make it simple, we're scoring each champion's skill on a scale of 1 to 10. Here's how this works. There are 4 pillars that represent a phase of the fight and 4 skills that make up a pillar. Each number represents a level, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Then, we take those numbers and give each champion a final score averaged by the scores of each of the 16 skills. Coming in at number 11 is Alex Pereira. Pillar 1 shows how Alex Pereira handles pressure. With a 7 in fight IQ and 8 in athleticism, he stays calm, patient, and physically imposing without rushing. But a 6 in stamina means long fights drain his edge, even though a 7 in resolve keeps him composed. Pillar 2 is where Alex Pereira becomes terrifying. With a 10 in striking, 8 in clinch, 7 in striking defense, and 8 in chin, every exchange carries fight-ending danger. Opponents can't settle, can't trade, and can't make mistakes. In this pillar, Pereira doesn't manage fights, he ends them. Pillar 3 is where Alex Pereira's limits show. With 4 in wrestling, 3 in takedown offense, 4 in top control, and 4 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he isn't dictating position or pace. Against strong grapplers, he's reacting, not imposing. Pillar 4 shows how Alex Pereira survives once he's grounded. With 6 in takedown defense, 5 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense, 3 in off the back, and 4 in scrambles, he can resist briefly, but will struggle to escape sustained control. Alex Pereira has a fighter index score of 5.9. His success depends on imposing his striking prowess so completely that the fight never settles into anything else. When he controls the phase, opponents are forced into survival and reaction rather than strategy. Coming in at number 10 is Joshua Van. Pillar 1 shows why Joshua Van already feels advanced for his age. With a 7 in fight IQ, he makes calm, efficient decisions under pressure, and a 7 in athleticism gives him the speed and coordination to execute them. His biggest strength here is endurance. An 8 in stamina lets him maintain pace deep into fights, while an 8 in resolve keeps him composed when exchanges get messy. Pillar 2 is where Joshua Van builds his offense. With a 7 in striking, he delivers clean combinations and steady pressure, backed by a 6 in clinch that lets him work effectively at close range. His 6 in striking defense shows he can manage exchanges without panic, and an 8 in chin gives him the confidence to stay aggressive. Pillar 3 is where Joshua Van is still developing. With a 5 in wrestling and 4 in takedown offense, grappling isn't a phase he looks to impose. His 5 in top control and 5 in BJJ show basic competence, but not a game built around holding position or draining opponents. Pillar 4 shows Joshua Van's ability to survive and reset. With a 6 in takedown defense, he's not easy to ground cleanly. A 6 in BJJ defense keeps him safe in bad spots, while a 5 off the back and 6 in scrambles show he prioritizes standing back up rather than extended ground exchanges. Joshua Van has a fighter index score of 6.2. That number reflects a fighter with a strong foundation and clear direction, but still room to grow. His success comes from pace, durability, and decision-making rather than phase dominance. At 6.2, Van isn't imposing the fight everywhere yet, but he's reliable, durable, and steadily building toward a more complete game. Coming in at number 9 is Mackenzie Dern. Pillar 1 explains how Mackenzie Dern approaches adversity. With a 6 in fight IQ, she understands her path to victory, but can struggle to adjust when it's denied. A 6 in athleticism gives her functional strength, while a 6 in stamina holds up but fades during heavy grappling. What anchors her is an 8 in resolve, keeping her composed and aggressive even when fights slip away. Pillar 2 is the most fragile part of Mackenzie Dern's game. With a 5 in striking, her offense is functional but limited, built more to close distance than win exchanges. A 7 in clinch helps her force grappling, but a 4 in striking defense leaves her hittable on the way in. What keeps her upright is a 7 in chin, allowing her to absorb damage while pushing forward. Pillar 3 is where Mackenzie Dern becomes a nightmare. With a 6 in wrestling and 6 in takedown offense, she can force the fight to the ground often enough. Once there, a 9 in top control and a 10 in BJJ turn positions into immediate submission threats. In this pillar, Dern doesn't manage grappling. She ends fights with it. Pillar 4 highlights why taking Mackenzie Dern down is never safe. With a 5 in takedown defense, she's willing to accept bottom position, but a 8 in BJJ defense keeps her difficult to control or threaten. A 9 off the back makes her dangerous even when grounded, and a 7 in scrambles lets her create transitions into offense. Here, Dern turns defense into constant threat. Mackenzie Dern has a fighter index score of 6.8. That number reflects a fighter whose success is driven by one of the most dangerous ground games in the sport. When grappling exchanges happen, the fight tilts sharply in her favor. At 6.8, Dern isn't defined by balance. She's defined by how quickly she can turn position into a finish. Coming in at number 8 is Tom Aspinall. Pillar 1 shows why Tom Aspinall feels different from most heavyweights. With an 8 in fight IQ, he makes smart, calm decisions without rushing exchanges. A 9 in athleticism gives him rare speed and coordination for the division, while an 8 in stamina lets him maintain that pace. Paired with an 8 in resolve, he stays composed even when fights turn chaotic. Pillar 2 highlights Aspinall's efficiency on the feet. With an 8 in striking, he delivers fast, clean combinations without overextending. A 7 in clinch lets him work safely and close, while an 8 in striking defense keeps him from absorbing unnecessary damage. His 7 in chin is solid, but his real strength is avoiding heavy shots altogether. Pillar 3 shows how dangerous Tom Aspinall is beyond striking. With a 7 in wrestling and a 7 in takedown offense, he can bring the fight to the ground when opportunities appear. An 8 in top control lets him settle quickly, and an 8 in BJJ turns positions into fast submission threats. In this pillar, Aspinall doesn't stall, he finishes. Pillar 4 explains why Tom Aspinall is so hard to pin down. With an 8 in takedown defense, he's difficult to ground cleanly. A 7 in BJJ defense keeps him safe if taken down, while a 6 off the back shows he can work to stand. His 8 in scrambles lets him reverse positions quickly and reset the fight. Aspinall has a fighter index score of 7.6. That number reflects a heavyweight with no obvious collapse points. He's fast, composed, and effective across every phase, without relying on a single win condition. At 7.6, Aspinall isn't winning by chaos or size alone. He's winning by being functional everywhere. Coming in at number 7 is Petr Yan. Pillar 1 is where Petr Yan separates himself. With a 9 in fight IQ, he's one of the best decision-makers in MMA, constantly reading, adjusting, and solving opponents over time. A 7 in athleticism supports his game without excess, while an 8 in stamina lets him maintain pressure late. His 9 in resolve keeps him composed even when rounds don't start his way. This pillar explains why Yan gets stronger as fights go on. Pillar 2 is where Petr Yan does his most visible damage. With a 9 in striking, he layers combinations, targets the body, and builds pressure methodically. A 9 in clinch makes close-range exchanges brutal and one-sided, while an 8 in striking defense limits clean returns. His 9 in chin lets him absorb shots without losing structure. Here, Yan doesn't trade. He accumulates control through damage. Pillar 3 shows Petr Yan's functional grappling. With a 7 in wrestling and 7 in takedown offense, he can force grappling when it serves his striking. A 7 in top control lets him hold position and land damage, while a 6 in BJJ keeps him safe without chasing submissions. Here, Yan uses grappling to reinforce control, not to hunt finishes. Pillar 4 explains why Petr Yan is so difficult to neutralize. With an 8 in takedown defense, he forces clean, expensive attempts. A 7 in BJJ defense keeps him safe if grounded, while a 6 off the back shows he prioritizes standing. His 7 in scrambles allows him to reset positions and return the fight to his terms. Petr Yan has a fighter index score of 7.7. That number reflects a fighter who rarely gives opponents clean advantages. He doesn't rely on explosions or single moments. He wins by layering skill, pressure, and decision-making across every phase. At 7.7, Yan isn't flashy by design. He's structurally difficult to beat. Coming in at number 6 is Khamzat Chimaev. Pillar 1 explains why Khamzat Chimaev feels overwhelming early. With a 7 in fight IQ, he recognizes openings quickly and commits without hesitation. A 9 in athleticism gives him rare explosiveness and physical dominance, but a 6 in stamina means that pace is hard to sustain. His 7 in resolve keeps him aggressive under pressure, even as fatigue sets in. This pillar shows a fighter built to break fights fast, not manage them slowly. Pillar 2 shows how Khamzat Chimaev forces reactions on the feet. With an 8 in striking, his power and forward pressure demand immediate respect. A 9 in clinch lets him overwhelm opponents at close range, while a 6 in striking defense shows he's willing to absorb shots to stay aggressive. His 8 in chin supports that style. In this pillar, Chimaev isn't managing risk, he's forcing exchanges. Pillar 3 is where Khamzat Chimaev becomes overwhelming. With a 10 in wrestling and a 10 in takedown offense, he can force the fight to the ground almost at will. A 9 in top control lets him suffocate opponents once he's there, and an 8 in BJJ turns control into real finishing danger. In this pillar, Chimaev doesn't just dictate position, he removes choice entirely. Pillar 4 shows how Khamzat Chimaev handles resistance. With an 8 in takedown defense, he's difficult to reverse or ground cleanly. A 7 in BJJ defense keeps him safe in scrambles, while a 5 off the back reflects how rarely he's forced to fight from bottom. His 7 in scrambles allows him to reassert control quickly. Khamzat Chimaev has a fighter index score of 7.8. That number reflects a fighter built around overwhelming physical control, with the ability to dominate fights before opponents can establish rhythm. When he's imposing his pace, the fight rapidly tilts in his favor. At 7.8, Chimaev isn't defined by patience or balance. He's defined by force and inevitability. Coming in at number 5 is Kayla Harrison. Pillar 1 shows the foundation of Kayla Harrison's dominance. With a 7 in fight IQ, she understands exactly how to steer fights toward her strengths. A 9 in athleticism gives her rare strength, balance, and explosiveness for the division. Her 7 in stamina supports sustained pressure. And an 8 in resolve allows her to grind without hesitation. This pillar reflects a fighter built to impose will and stay composed while doing it. Pillar 2 shows how Kayla Harrison creates contact. With a 6 in striking, her offense is functional and direct, built to close distance rather than win long exchanges. A 9 in clinch is the real weapon here, letting her dominate ties and force takedowns. Her 6 in striking defense is serviceable, and an 8 in chin allows her to walk through shots without hesitation. In this pillar, Harrison isn't looking to outstrike. She's looking to connect and control. Pillar 3 is where Kayla Harrison takes over fights. With a 9 in wrestling and a 9 in takedown offense, she can force the fight to the ground once contact is made. A 9 in top control lets her erase time and space, and an 8 in BJJ turns dominant positions into real finishing threats. In this pillar, Harrison doesn't just control opponents, she buries them under pressure. Pillar 4 shows how difficult Kayla Harrison is to reverse or neutralize. With a 10 in takedown defense, in her career, she's only been taken down once. An 8 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense keeps her safe if positions do shift, while a 6 off the back reflects how rarely she's forced there. Her 7 in scrambles allows her to regain control rather than get stuck reacting. Kayla Harrison has a fighter index score of 7.9. That number reflects a fighter who consistently forces the fight into her strongest phases and keeps it there. Once she establishes contact, control, pressure, and position begin to stack quickly in her favor. At 7.9, Harrison isn't relying on speed or finesse. She's winning by systematic physical dominance. Coming in at number 4 is Valentina Shevchenko. Pillar 1 is the backbone of Valentina Shevchenko's dominance. With a 9 in fight IQ, she reads opponents faster than they can adjust, managing distance and tempo with precision. An 8 in athleticism gives her elite balance and coordination, while an 8 in stamina allows her to maintain that control deep into fights. Her 9 in resolve keeps her calm and disciplined, no matter how the fight shifts. This pillar shows a fighter built to control chaos through intelligence and composure. Pillar 2 shows Valentina Shevchenko's precision on the feet. With an 8 in striking, she lands clean counters and well-timed kicks without overcommitting. A 7 in clinch lets her control space at close range, while a 9 in striking defense keeps opponents from landing cleanly. Her 8 in chin allows her to stay composed when exchanges do happen. In this pillar, Shevchenko doesn't chase damage. She limits risk while winning exchanges. Pillar 3 shows how Valentina Shevchenko manages where the fight takes place. With an 8 in wrestling, she times takedowns cleanly off strikes and clinch entries. A 7 in takedown offense makes her selective but effective, while an 8 in top control lets her secure rounds once on the ground. Her 7 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu keeps her safe and disciplined rather than reckless. Pillar 4 shows how difficult Valentina Shevchenko is to neutralize. With an 8 in takedown defense, she's hard to ground cleanly. An 8 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense keeps her safe if positions shift, while a 6 off the back reflects her preference to stand rather than attack. Her 8 in scrambles allows her to reset positions quickly and return the fight to her terms. Valentina Shevchenko has a fighter index score of 7.9, tied with Kayla Harrison, but earned against much deeper and longer-term competition. That number reflects years of elite consistency across every phase, with no exploitable gaps and very little variance fight to fight. At 7.9, Shevchenko's success isn't built on force or size. It's built on precision, control, and sustained excellence against the best available opposition. Coming in at number 3 is Ilia Topuria. Pillar 1 is where Ilia Topuria separates himself. He carries a 9 in fight IQ, a 9 in athleticism, a 9 in stamina, and a 9 in resolve, which means he thinks clearly, moves explosively, keeps his pace, and never breaks mentally. There's no visible drop-off as fights get harder. Pillar 2, striking and stand-up defense, is where Ilia Topuria turns pressure into damage. With a 9 in striking, his boxing carries real fight-ending authority. A 7 in clinch keeps him strong and close, while a 7 in striking defense lets him trade without losing structure. His 9 in chin gives him the confidence to stay planted when exchanges heat up. In this pillar, Topuria doesn't avoid danger. He wins inside it. Pillar 3, grappling and control, shows why Ilia Topuria is more than a striker. With a 7 in wrestling and a 7 in takedown offense, he can bring fights to the ground when openings appear. An 8 in top control lets him settle with authority, and a 9 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu turns positions into immediate submission danger. In this pillar, Topuria doesn't grapple to survive. He grapples to finish. Pillar 4, defense, scrambles, and ground survival, shows that grounding Ilia Topuria doesn't solve anything. With a 7 in takedown defense, he can slow entries long enough to force work. An 8 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu defense keeps him safe in transitions, while a 7 off the back means opponents can't relax on top. His 8 in scrambles turns exchanges into momentum shifts rather than control. In this pillar, Topuria doesn't escape danger. He makes opponents regret creating it. Ilia Topuria has a fighter index score of 8.1, one of the highest in the sport. That number reflects a fighter who brings real threat in every phase. Power on the feet, finishing ability on the ground, and the composure to apply both under pressure. At 8.1, Topuria isn't relying on one advantage. He's stacking them. Coming in at number 2 is Alexander Volkanovski. Pillar 1, fight IQ and athletic tools, is where Alexander Volkanovski separates himself from almost everyone. He carries a 10 in fight IQ, a 9 in athleticism, a 10 in stamina, and a 10 in resolve. That means elite decision-making, constant physical output, and complete composure no matter how hard the fight becomes. There's no visible drop-off as rounds pass or pressure increases. In this pillar, Volkanovski doesn't survive adversity. He thrives inside it. Pillar 2, striking and stand-up defense, is where Alexander Volkanovski shows true mastery. With a 9 in striking, he lands clean shots through timing, angles, and discipline rather than brute force. A 9 in clinch allows him to control close-range exchanges and dictate exits, while a 9 in striking defense makes clean counters rare. His 8 in chin gives him reliability when exchanges do happen. In this pillar, Volkanovski doesn't just outstrike opponents. He outmanages every exchange. Pillar 3, grappling and control, shows how Alexander Volkanovski keeps opponents honest everywhere. With a 7 in wrestling, he defends and initiates grappling intelligently. An 8 in takedown offense lets him blend shots into striking exchanges, while a 7 in top control allows him to secure position when needed. His 6 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu reflects discipline over submission hunting. In this pillar, Volkanovski doesn't chase dominance. He maintains control without creating risk. Pillar 4, defense, scrambles, and ground survival, is where Alexander Volkanovski becomes almost impossible to contain. With a 9 in takedown defense, he's extremely hard to ground cleanly. A 9 in BJJ defense keeps him safe if positions shift, while a 6 off the back reflects his preference to stand rather than attack. His 9 in scrambles allows him to reset exchanges before opponents can settle into control. Alexander Volkanovski has a fighter index score of 8.4. That number reflects a fighter with elite answers in every phase and no exploitable collapse points. He wins by denying opponents momentum, space, and confidence over the course of a fight. At 8.4, Volkanovski isn't relying on dominance in one area, he's systematically removing every advantage his opponents try to create. And finally, at number 1, we have the most well-rounded UFC champion, Islam Makachev. Pillar 1, fight IQ and athletic tools, shows why Islam Makachev feels inevitable. With a 9 in fight IQ, he makes disciplined, position-first decisions without forcing risks. Having a 7 in athleticism gives him strong balance and explosiveness where it matters, while a 9 in stamina lets him sustain control-heavy pressure deep into fights. His 9 in resolve keeps him calm and methodical even when opponents resist early. Pillar 2, striking and stand-up defense, shows how Islam Makachev avoids giving opponents opportunities. With a 7 in striking, he keeps his offense compact and purposeful. A 9 in clinch allows him to dominate close-range exchanges and dictate positioning along the fence. His 8 in striking defense minimizes clean damage, and a 7 in chin keeps him steady if exchanges break down. Pillar 3, grappling and control, is where Islam Makachev earns the reputation as the most well-rounded champion in the UFC. With a 9 in wrestling and a 9 in takedown offense, he can bring the fight to the ground whenever he chooses. A 10 in top control allows him to erase time and movement once he's there, and a 9 in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu turns dominant positions into constant submission threats. This isn't just elite grappling. It's layered control, decision-making, and finishing ability working together, which is why Makachev is viewed as the most complete fighter at the championship level. Pillar 4, defense, scrambles, and ground survival, shows why even successful entries don't last against Islam Makachev. With a 9 in takedown defense, he's extremely difficult to ground cleanly. A 9 in BJJ defense removes submission risk, while a 7 off the back shows he can work calmly and effectively if positions flip. His 9 in scrambles ensures transitions rarely stay transitions. They become control again. In this pillar, resistance doesn't create space. It feeds the cycle back in his favor. Islam Makachev has a fighter index score of 8.5, the highest on this list. That number reflects a fighter with elite control, elite defense, and no-phase opponents can safely lean on. At 8.5, Makachev isn't just winning fights. He's removing options, which is why he's widely viewed as the most well-rounded champion in the UFC today. That's what the fighter index is really measuring, not who hits hardest, not who finishes fastest, but who still functions when the fight stops being comfortable. Some champions win by overwhelming force, others by control, precision, or pressure. The higher the fighter index score, the fewer places opponents can hide, and the harder it is to force a collapse. This isn't a list of the greatest champions. It's a snapshot of how complete they are right now. Thanks for watching. If you want deeper breakdowns, head-to-head matchups, or future contenders scored through the fighter index, hit the like button and subscribe.